welcome back to the Extreme Esports Extravaganza. There is StarCraft 2 for WCS Valencia as we get down to business for more round of 8 action. We're about to have another Zerg versus Zerg come up as True was able to dispatch of Serral very convincingly in that 3-1 series with a lot of mutas, a lot of lings, a lot of run-bys. That's what he does. I am joined to my left-hand side by Todd and Mr. Nathanius. Ta-da! Presenting perfectly.
I don't get it.
Thank you very much.
You can be Mr. as well if you want to be. That's fine. You were here just before. It's fine. That's how it is.
That's an excuse.
Todd is actually...
When you're this big, they call you Mister.
Oh, okay.
They added shackles on this side for Todd as well since Jeff finally broke free after day one. Todd's stuck here.
Yeah.
Look at him and how confident he sounds on his box.
On it. No.
Well, I don't have shackles, so I've got that going for me.
You've got that going for you. You've got that going for you. We've got another Zerg versus Zerg coming up, boys. It's going to be Nerchio going up against Elazer. This is a storied match, considering the fact that they've played each other a million times, Todd.
43-12 in Nerchio's favor. That's in series. You might think it's maps, which already would be a lot, but no, that's in series. So these guys, they play against one another all the time. Nerchio used to have the lead, and then it was Elazer.
Yeah.
Elazer, as of late, he had done pretty well against Nerchio, especially in WCS events. He beat him once in Challenger for Jönköping and twice here for Valencia.
Yep.
But then the last 2 times that they met in online cups, it was Nerchio that started turning the tide again.
Seems like he has them figured out a little bit further. Both of these players, well, I would say Nerchio more so than Elazer, kind of the guy that wants to go along in some of these Zerg versus Zergs, even though he can play the early game, whilst I famously quoted Nerchio of saying that, you know, Elazer in one of those challenger matches was a gambler. He called him a gambler in Polish.
Elazer is a very good player, but Nerchio's got the story. He has been the guy, the big top dog that's been around. He's been put on that pedestal being the top Zerg player in Europe for a very long time. And I think that when you look at the other players that you see down the bracket, the potential for a finals matchup, a lot of people see the Nerchio probably being a bit more able to adapt and study a guy like Neeb, for example, who he could end up running into in that later phase. So to me, it's interesting in that regard, since Elazer still has that potential to make this very interesting, very difficult for him. And of course, ZvZ, well, a lot of oh no's to be said, Todd.
A lot of oh no's.
I'm sure there will be.
Yeah, let's find out. As we head over to Smix now, a big fan of the Zerg race. Smix, are you excited for more Zerg versus Zerg?
I am indeed. The first one was really interesting, but our next one is interesting as well, as it's a mirror matchup in more ways than one. We have 2 Polish Zergs going up against one another, and it's True that waits for the winner in the round of 4. Give it up for Elazer and Nerchio.
It's good to be a Polish StarCraft 2 fan. One of these is guaranteed through onto the round of 4, and then we'll be facing off in another Zerg versus Zerg, both of which are players are very good in the Zerg versus Zerg matchup, Todd.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're losing one of these. That's also one way to look at it. So that would be sad for the Polish fans, right? Because from 8, we're going to go into 4 players.
Yeah.
That is how the tournament works.
Are we just going to keep doing that forever now?
Someone has to get eliminated, guys. It's tragic. If only we could clone them.
No, if only everybody could be a champion, kind of like that school sports running day. You all won deep down inside.
Okay, one thing to keep in mind here. Elazer needs the WCS points here a lot more so than Nerchio does. Nerchio currently in 3rd place with 3,000 points, whereas Elazer is slightly below 2,000. Elazer, he's been in Korea as of late, and he's been training really hard. I talked to him, and he seemed rather confident. I'm sure that he's looking at his brackets. He saw True beating Serral, the guy that beats him every time in Challenger, or just every time, period. And he's thinking, I'm liking my chances to make the finals there.
I like that point a lot. I think Serral has been one of the scariest players to run into in this bracket, seeing the way that he's been playing recently, especially in ZvZ. So True knocking him out kind of busts this bracket open a little bit more. I think Nerchio and Elazer both might prefer to play against True instead of a guy like Serral.
When you look back at that series that we just watched, I feel like True's Zerg versus Zerg is now very telegraphed. It was very Ling, very Muta heavy, just trying to run around, whereas these guys probably look at to be a more stable kind of roach player in the mid game. So is that something that could be an advantage for them moving forwards in the bracket?
That's what I was saying, is they know that Serral is such a good player at the standard game, and he's just so solid. It's very difficult to shake a guy like that, and it should entice either one of these guys even more, because something might see it as being easier road to the final than having to play against Serral.
Great breakdown, by the way.
Thank you. I did what I could. You kind of transitioned it from our previous break, now we're here. So looking at how they're actually going to be going into this series, again, you know, Nerchio called Elazer a gambler. Are we still in that air, or can Elazer just kind of push it further into the mid stages of the game and hang with Nerchio?
Well, I wouldn't take literally what people say after they lose series. Like, obviously, it's StarCraft 2, a game of incomplete information, so sometimes people are going to take some risks, some calculated risks for some others, just complete gambles. I feel like Elazer is just good in general, and in the past he did a good job of figuring out how to play against someone like Nerchio and doing well against him. And I feel like it might be the case here once again, but it's definitely up in the air. Like, I don't feel like there is the clear favorite to me here in this matchup.
Yeah, I'd have to agree there. I mean, Nerchio I see as a very well-rounded player overall, but Elazer's more than good enough to take this series and possibly take True to go to a final, which would be an epic story for him in this tournament, and certainly should keep him motivated enough to be giving it his all at this phase, looking forward to trying to get up to that final appearance.
All right, well, I'm being informed that our players are ready now, so we can get into our next series here in the round of 8. Time to head over to our commentary team in Pig and Rotterdam, who are going to be bringing us all the Zerg versus Zerg action.
Poland versus Poland, Zerg versus Zerg, Elazer up against Nerchio. This is going to be an action-packed Zerg versus Zerg. I am Pig. Joining me is Rotterdam. Are you excited for this match, Kevin?
I am. I absolutely am. I always think it's fun when two players from the same nation go up against each other on an international stage. And that's obviously where we are here at WCS Valencia. A very big quarterfinal for both of them, but perhaps a little more for this man. As Todd said, he needs those WCS points just a little bit more. It is Elazer.
Recently graduated from school, is now just playing StarCraft full-time. He said he's excited to put his full focus on that. And of course, his much more experienced opponent down here in the bottom right-hand side, representing Euronics Gaming, it is Nerchio.
Why do you get music and I don't, Pig?
Yeah, it was a little bit of, you know, I think it's just because I'm special. You have to get above a certain bar of intro skill.
Is it MMR related?
Yeah.
Is it at 6K on Europe that I just can't reach?
You're 5.95 at the moment. You're almost there, Roddy. But every time you get close, you just lose 6 games in a row.
You know how it goes. You know what I really liked this weekend? When Elazer was standing on stage, and I think Stu asked him a question about, you know, his history with Nerchio, and he's like, well, yeah, the record is heavily in favor of Nerchio, but that's not fair because he farmed me when I was in Diamond League. I really like the way that he phrased that. He's like, you guys are way too hung up on statistics. He's like, I've been trying to be a pro for a long time. And Elazer was one of those names that was a regular in WCS 2015, but he was a round of 32 regular, you know, maybe a round of 16 if he had a good season, but that was it. And then obviously in 2014 and 2013, I mean, Nerchio has been around for so long that he has indeed been farming all these guys, especially in these local national qualifiers. But if you just focus on the last 15 series or so, it's a lot closer between these two, and perhaps Elazer actually has a small edge as well. I'm excited. I think this is going to be a really fun series. I'm still amazed by the confidence that Elazer has been oozing out lately as well.
Yeah.
He missed Austin, Pick. He missed Austin. But he said, I was having a taxi ride back then with Nerchio. He's like, yeah, but Elazer is going to be full-time now. He just finished up school. And he told me he's absolutely not worried. He's still going to make the global finals. And, you know, I was just listening, but I was like, I don't know, man. I mean, the competition is pretty stiff out there. It's going to be really hard when you only have 3 events. And his very first event, Jan Jumping, Elazer made it to the semifinals. Now again, quarterfinals. So the kid wasn't bragging. He's full of confidence, but apparently for all the right reasons.
Something you got to have in a game like StarCraft, that strength.
You know, Pig, sorry to interrupt you. This is something that I saw for the first time 5 or 6 days ago. And I think, you know, my friend, the Muslim
Oh, you hadn't noticed it before?
No, the Muslim was watching as well. He's like, I really didn't know. And I was like, what is the Muslim talking about? I was like, actually, I didn't know that either. And now I've seen it like 7 games in a row. I'm like, is this like a new trend? Is everybody just knocking down the rocks from the high ground now?
Yeah, man. That was actually put in there by design as well. I remember a lot of people thought it was bugged at first. They were like, oh, this is so weird. You can break the rocks from the high ground. And the designer came out and was like, yeah, it's meant to be that way. I made it that way on purpose. So, you know, you don't have to go all the way down to that low ground.
I mean, we also thought that the gold base with 8 mineral patches was bugged at first, and it was big. It was.
Well, that actually wasn't by design. He's like, yeah, you could have 1,500 minerals on 8 patches. Thankfully, that's been changed now. It's back to a standard blue base. Of course, speaking of mirror matches, Poland versus Poland, Zerg versus Zerg, we've seen completely mirrored builds. Both players rushing up to 3 bases off gasless. Only now do we see players taking gas. Nerchio going for his about 20 seconds quicker than Elazer's, and that's the first variation we're seeing from either player.
Yeah, incredibly macro-oriented openings over here in game number 1. There's definitely going to be a short game or perhaps even 2 or 3 in this best of 5. And that's not because Elazer is a gambler, but that's just because you want to be unpredictable in ZvZ. And both players, the first thing you do after a game like this, you take a look at the build order from your opponent. It's like, all right, let's see if you do that one more time. And if I see you do it one more time in this series, I'm going to spice things up. I'm going to be a lot more aggressive.
Ooh, those Zerglings actually slip past. This is really big because this is literally Nerchio's first look at Elazer's base. He is only now about to realize that he's on 3 bases. Elazer, with those 2 scouting Zerglings earlier, he saw everything. And because of that, Elazer's actually been a little bit quicker to drone out. You'll notice he's delayed his Evo chamber, his Roach War, and his lair. And instead, he's just powering drones. You see Nerchio a little bit ahead of him just now, but Elazer has definitely been mining more up to this point.
He has been mining more, but I'm almost scared by how late that Roach Warren is picked. Do you think that's just completely all right? I have the feeling that if Nerchio starts producing Roaches soon and he's going to go for a +1 timing, I think he's going to have quite a few Roaches more to work with. I mean, how many drones do you truly want to go up to when you're on 3 bases like this?
I think these Zerglings are very important because they scout the drone count and he sees Nerchio is droning very heavily. Otherwise, he may have had to drop a spine crawler or something like that to help beef up his defense. But I think seeing that drone count, he knows he's safe. And oh my gosh, he's even going to go for a second Evo chamber count.
Yeah, Elazer has been incredibly greedy. But of course, he has been scouting a little bit, so we can just call it straight up gambling. Nerchio is going to reply with a slightly quicker 4th base. But I don't think Elazer is that worried about it at this point because, you know, we're going to get ready for some good old Roaches. I know you love it, Pig. Gets you going on a Saturday morning. Gets me going as well. Because I'm a product of my own environment. And when I got you next to me, I love those Roaches.
Oh, yeah. Roach versus Roach action, of course, gets very complicated on this map. It comes down to where you expand. Nerchio going to the left. I think Elazer is going to be going to the right. And they're both just going to be starting to spread out over that map. Now, if either player starts to take down the back rocks in the later stages, we might see tunneling balls come in. Oh, that's so cool. This is like some early 2016 Zerg versus Zerg right here. He must know Nerchio doesn't like Mutalisks.
Just kind of wonder, what is he going to put into them?
Just Roaches.
Just a couple of Roaches, I guess. And he's going to try to be annoying, try to get a couple of Roaches up into the main base of Nerchio and try to create some chaos. We've seen a couple of good ZvZs already. I thought Stefano versus Nerchio was a pretty fun ZvZ on Blood Boil. And I felt like things looked all right for Stefano for a while. But the moment that Stefano got a little too carried away with trying to set up 3 or 4 attacks at once, Nerchio's like, okay, that's pretty cool. But what if I just keep all my units together and I run across the map? I can straight up kill you.
Yep.
And that's pretty much what happened. So let's see. Let's see if Elazer is going to be able to get some damage done with these 2 Dropper-Lords. And is Nerchio going to be able to scout them? He's awfully close.
We are seeing Nerchio intercepting Elazer's Roaches, but Elazer's got the numbers there. He has seen those Dropper-Lords coming over to the right. Has Nerchio noticed? I'm not quite sure. The upgrades are tied at +1 range apiece right now. Both players going double upgraded mass Roach. Very few Ravagers on the field, just going for raw numbers right now.
Where's that Spore Crawler? There's a Spore Crawler being dropped. There's actually in the back of Nerchio as well. Let's say low ground natural it is. So those first 2 Dropper-Lords, they may be able to get something done soon. There's a Hydralisk Den being thrown down now as well for Elazer, who is just sharking around. He's looking for an opening, but so far it seems like Nerchio is set up defensively, but that's a lot of Roaches. So that basically means that he has almost nothing in the main, but Elazer doesn't want to commit just yet.
Yeah, those Queens were really scaring those Overlords away. They did a lot of damage to one of those Overlords with just a couple of hits. So Elazer, he's still sharking about. Both players going for Hydralisk Dens, +2 Carapace on the way for Elazer.
Pure Roach though, right? Like,
yeah, pretty much. There's only a couple of Ravagers on each side right now. We've got, I think, 1 Ravager for Elazer, 2 for Nerchio. And both players kind of afraid to commit up until this point.
I mean, it's kind of an awkward angle. Spinecrawler gets taken down immediately. It seems like Elazer should have enough here, especially with reinforcements. But going up a ramp is always a little bit awkward. Good micro there, though, avoiding. And don't forget, Elazer still has those 8 Roaches on the other side of the map.
The Queens and the Spore sniped down 1 before it could unload. 5 Roaches do end up getting out. They're still going to be able to cause a little bit of havoc. And Elazer defended at home at the same time. So things going very well for the young Pole.
Yep, he's going to force Nerchio to come back. Elazer takes a pretty commanding supply lead. Obviously, he is going to end up losing these Roaches eventually. It's important as well. Did he perhaps get a sneak peek on the Roach one? Because maybe he could have seen that Tunneling Claws was being researched. as Nerchio already has Spore Crawlers. I don't think Elazer has any. He does have an Overseer. Nerchio's army is a little bit out of position, though. This port base could be in a little bit of trouble.
This is a nice angle for Elazer. A lot more roaches coming in to reinforce for Nerchio, though. Elazer's going to need to consolidate his forces. There we go. His roaches come up, stop attacking that hatchery, and he still has the concave advantage. Elazer happy to trade out right now, but I think this fight is going okay for Nerchio.
Yeah, with the reinforcements, we've seen this so many times. It's like, oh, it's very close. Well, that means that the defenders, Zerg, should be all right. 9 drones did go down, though. Elazer's up 6 workers now. That is something that could snowball. And once again, the first big difference in this game is that Nerchio did not drop a Hydralisk then. He's going pure Roach. Nerchio is supposed to be the aggressor here. Nerchio is supposed to be creating some chaos with tunneling claws and roaches. That's not happening at all, Pig. If both players just sit back, then you gotta love the tech choice of Elazer, right?
Absolutely. I mean, there is a single Hydra in the back there for Nerchio, but it hasn't really done too much just yet. A lot more Hydras there for Elazer. They're going to dish out the hurt. Great corrosive bile hit for Elazer. He's going to get very excited and jump forward, eats a few corrosive biles to the face. Both players taking a lot of damage here. And still very close right now. Elazer's unit's very bruised. Roaches starting to fall.
Nerchio never started +2, or did he lose an Evo Chamber? Because he does not have +2 Carapace, while Elazer does. So Elazer takes, for the first time, a real upgrade advantage. And that's a pretty big deal when you're working with the exact same units.
Elazer has managed to defend the push. He's pushing Nerchio back. A nice army supply lead here for Elazer, as well as being up a couple of workers and having a 5th hatchery on the way. I think what you've been talking about this whole time, Rotterdam, this is where Nerchio needs to start doing those tunneling claw roach counterattacks. But Elazer's not going to give him time, splitting up roaches on the left, just sharking on the right-hand side. He's going to come in, pick off a few drones here, and then just back on out. Great positioning from Elazer.
Yeah, this is just kind of odd. It almost feels like Elazer is the player with tunneling claws, with the way that he's positioning his roaches, how aggressive he is. But actually, he's the one that's stacking up to a Lurkaden at the moment. He's the one with the upgrade advantage, and Nerchio has just not been able to apply any sort of pressure on his fellow Polish Zerg.
Yeah, not at all. And I mean, Nerchio, he's just got to get out of this position. If he can get over there, there's still a big lack of static on Elazer's side of the map. When I say a lack of, I mean like an absolute lack of. No spores, no spines, nothing defending the 4th or 5th. Elazer's relying purely on that aggression, but Nerchio, I mean, he's so pinned back. He doesn't have a big army. He's afraid of dying, so he doesn't want to split any units away in case Elazer pushes in and just kills him.
What do you think is up with the +2 Carapace? Did Nerchio just forget, or was he just not rich enough?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely doesn't have the gas now. He's going to defend here. It's not the most important upgrade, but it definitely does help. And the longer these roach battles go, the more and more Elazer will get value out of that upgrade.
Lurker then is about to finish up as well. A couple of Lurkers could be great here, especially because Nerchio obviously doesn't have Vipers. He doesn't have Mutalisks. The only thing he could do as a couple of roaches is once again be loaded into the main with a Neil Dropper Lord. So Nerchio's going to end up losing a few more roaches. It's a big battle as well. Ooh, all those roaches are trapped though. Perhaps Elazer overcommitting here a tiny bit, as he doesn't really get that much done here, and that's a lot of supply that he just kind of threw away.
Morphing 10 lurkers behind it though. Okay, Elazer's made a decision. He wanted to clear up a little bit of supply. He's going to add more roaches in to help finish remaxing.
There's no Overseer, right? If he hold positions this, that would be fantastic. Oh, there is.
There is, but it's trailing behind. It's trailing behind. He is on old position. He's on hold fire. Oh, the Overseer is going to come up, though. The Overseer is going to come up. He's got to activate. He's got to activate it. He's got to activate it. Oh, my gosh. Massive lurker hits going down on that roach army. Elazer waits to the last second, but that Overseer just barely came in and got the vision. But already look at the damage.
Look at the HP. I mean, obviously, Tunneling Claws is going to regen quite quickly, but a lot of roaches took a little bit of beating. A couple of roaches got picked off. Those Ravagers took some damage as well. Those Lurkers are a little bit exposed, though. Nerchio's just going to dive on them.
The Roaches and Ravagers just get on top of that. Elazer here going for a massive Roach counterattack. This might have been a little bit too ballsy. He's building a lot more units. He's trying to bring more Lurkers back to help defend. I don't know if this is going to be enough. At the same time, Nerchio definitely can't defend at home. This one army of Nerchio has to make it happen. He's got to take out the reinforcements. Corrosive bile on the eggs. But I don't know if Nerchio has enough.
Reinforcements normally sounds like one roach at a time. Not this time. 33 roaches were on the way for Elazer, and that's way too much to deal with, as Elazer is releasing a little fist pump there as he takes a 1-0 lead in this quarterfinals. Some beautiful lurker play, and Elazer just looked dominant in that first game.
Everything to gain for Elazer here. Everything to lose for Nerchio in terms of his goal to make it to another championship. You know, he would love to win this tournament. He was the champion last year in an epic Zerg vs Terran finals. He'd love to be a champion once again.
That was a great finals pick. You know, not often does it happen that you refer back to a 4-0 finals. Last year, DreamHack Valencia was Nerchio versus Marine Lord, and it ended up 4-0, but that final was so much more fun than the 4-0 score makes it sound. I think that game on Apotheosis was one of the coolest games we had throughout the entire tournament.
Was such a ridiculous game. It was like an hour-long game, or probably like 40 minutes or something like that. It just went on, and that whole series was very exciting, of course. Elazer with a very good play in game number 1, but we can't forget how that early game went. That was a pretty good opening for him. He got the scouting. He was a lot greedier in the opening stages. I feel like he was always up about 10, 15, 20 supply in the mid game, and he definitely carried that through. But he was taking a couple of risks to be so aggressive, right? He went for these drops. He didn't have any defense. If Tunneling Claw Roaches managed to sneak across that map, I'm with you, Roddy. I think that could have been the secret to success.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that when Nerchio calls Elazer a gambler, maybe it's not necessarily like the early game openings, or like Todd said, maybe we shouldn't look too much into it. That's the case as well. But for instance, Nerchio was getting defensive spores in every base, at least one, in case of Tunneling Claw Roaches. Elazer didn't do any of that. But on the other hand, you know, if you're always the aggressor, it's very unlikely that your opponent somehow sneaks some units behind your army, because obviously there is an overseer with the army. So it's kind of funny that, you know, the player with Tunneling Claws was never aggressive, and he was actually the one getting defensive spores, while the player who didn't get that upgrade didn't even get the defensive spores, and that obviously allowed Elazer to go up to that lurker then a little bit faster and get out those lurkers, and obviously having that upgrade advantage as well. I think that was just a mistake, or maybe something that Nerchio forgot.
Yeah, you never know here in these action-packed games exactly how it goes down. Spawning down here in the bottom right-hand side in the blue, it is Elazer.
And a fantastic 2016. This man had a pretty damn good 2016 as well. They played against each other, now that we think about it, at the Global Finals last year. Back then it was Elazer. Can he turn it around this time? It is Nerchio. Yeah, they were in that group with Solar as well, and then the decider match actually was Elazer versus Nerchio.
That was actually a very big tournament, of course, for Elazer. They're making it through to that semi-final, something which I don't think a player from Poland has ever done in StarCraft history, and very rarely has a non-Korean made it in the last few years either.
No one has ever done that. Obviously, the WCS system has changed a little bit over the years, but that was the very first time that we saw a non-Korean make it to the semi-finals at BlizzCon, unless maybe you go back to the year...
Let's go back to like 2011 or something like that.
2010, I think, even, right? When we had Loner and Genius.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was 2010. Yeah. A long time ago. We've been around for a while. Of course, you've been casting since the very beginning. I was probably hovering around in Diamond League as Elazer was once, you know, trying to get good back then.
I started off in Copper League. A league so low they removed it. It doesn't exist anymore. But that's where we started. Started from the bottom. Well, now I'm not really at the top, but you know.
You're doing all right, Kev. You're doing all right.
All right, so Elazer went for a very aggressive opening this time. We saw that early pool. We saw that gas being mined, and now we see the Baneling nest being thrown down as well. So this could be a very short and explosive game. What does Nerchio know at this point? I don't think he knows all that much, right?
No, he hasn't really seen anything so far. And I mean, he's building his 6 Zerglings. They're going to flower out on the map. At least they should, or actually lately sometimes he hasn't done it, but no, yeah, there we go. They're going to spread out in every different direction. And Nerchio, is he going to spot it?
Oh, he's making more drones, because those links were maybe the links that he expects normally from a macro-oriented opening. Really good job by Elazer hiding those links on the left bottom side, and there's a good chance that Nerchio is in a lot of trouble already here in game number 2.
Nerchio is in a lot of trouble. That queen goes down. Elazer snipes that. Oh, he wants to get inside that main base. Doesn't quite want to risk it. Is morphing Banelings here. Oh, only one queen cannot block that ramp. The Zerglings are blocking it. Just a few drones there backing up the queen. Good control from Nerchio so far. And this Baneling here, it doesn't want to detonate on just a couple of Zerglings. Good micro from Nerchio, forcing Elazer back for a moment.
Unfortunate that for Nerchio ends up losing 2 links and he doesn't get the Baneling. Both Banelings detonate on the Queen immediately, but that's the second Queen that has gone down already for Nerchio, who does have 12 additional links on the way. Army supply, it is close, and new Queen does pop. Good job tucking it away immediately in that middle line. It's still gonna fall, but at least he gets a couple of extra hits off and he buys himself another second. The biggest problem is, though, there are no defensive Banelings. So if Elazer just goes with, let's say, 5 Banelings instead of 2 or 3, I have no idea how, even if you're as good as Nerchio, how are you supposed to micro against that?
The problem is the army count. There's just not enough Zerglings for Nerchio, for Elazer left over. He just traded even more Zerglings away. He can't afford to do that. Yeah, he's got a couple of Banelings, but he doesn't have the support to protect him.
Is Nerchio going to jump on those 2 morphing Banes? They've been morphing for quite some time. Instead, he's going to go for the Zergling battle. He has a couple of very low HP links remaining. Should split up his Zerglings there. Does not do it. 4 links into 1 Bane. But like you said, Nerchio's still having, you know, the advantage. He has a massive economic advantage. It's 2 hatcheries against 1.
There's just way too many Zerglings coming out for Nerchio right now. He has held this push with flying colors, and Elazer completely all in. No hatchery behind this. He's on 1 base, stuck on 13 drones. He knows he needs to make it or he will break right now. And Elazer looking a little bit helpless against this Queen block.
Yep, this is pretty much it. That one last Baneling is going to detonate. These Queens are starting to run low on HP, but that's not going to matter as Nerchio will even up the series. Excellent hold. I really thought after losing that first Queen as quickly as he did and making those extra drones, I was like, I think Nerchio's in trouble here, but great focus fire. And what he did really good is that he pushed back the morphing links into Banelings. He just kept jumping on them, and he forced Elazer to morph them further and further away from the natural of Nerchio. Then at one point, he's morphing Banelings in the middle of Odyssey, and nobody wants to do that because you want to apply the pressure. And you know that every second that goes by is a good second for the defending Zerg, as Nerchio was working with 20 drones and Elazer only with 13.
A big confidence booster as well, Kev, to defend a push like that when you don't see it until the absolute last second. He just started 2 drones as well, but he hung on very well, especially that micro on the ramp, using a couple of Zerglings and drones to block next to the Queen, but not letting too many clump up and provide a juicy hit for the Banelings.
I'm Zerg, King Arthur.
Of course, Abyssal Reef will be the next map as we go into map number 3. Both players tied up 1-1 here. In recent online matches, Nerchio has won a couple of them, but in the very important qualifiers for both here and Jönköping, I would say the more important tournaments, Elazer was the one who triumphed. So they've been trading blows back and forth in series recently.
And I mean, let's not forget that the biggest series they ever played was still at the global finals last year, and that's the one that Elazer won too. So obviously, you know, once again, we can look at those statistics and the massive advantages that Nerchio has statistically over Elazer. You know, a lot of that has to do with the fact that they played a crazy amount of games against each other before Elazer was pro or anywhere near the player he currently is. Now, Abyssal Reef is going to be obviously a very important map in this best of 5. Not only will the winner take the lead in this series, this is also the most straightforward map, the map that everybody plays on. So this map, it often counts as more than just a map win. It's a little confidence booster as well.
Spawning down here in the bottom right-hand side, hoping to send his opponent off for a trip with the fishies. It is Elazer.
You make that sound a lot more pleasant than it is, Pig.
Well, Elazer, he's gentle. He puts you to sleep quietly. He gives you a kiss on your forehead, tucks you in, and then dispatches you with a bunch of Banelings in your mineral line.
The man that we refer to as King Arthur is spawning on the left top side of Abyssal. It is Nerchio. Prides himself for his consistency in not just these tournaments, but pretty much all the tournaments he participates in. Obviously, winning is always what you aim for, and Nerchio has won quite a few tournaments over the years. Has won a home story cup a long time ago. Obviously won a DreamHack or 2 by now. But
yeah, I think he won...
he won Valencia last year, and he won, I think, the one against Bly. Yeah, a long time ago. Had Apollo casting that one.
A lot of second places, top 4s as well for Nerchio. Around 2012, that time of year, a player who has a lot of those results. Of course, Elazer still does not have a big championship under his belt, though we do count him along one of the very best players, especially after that semifinals performance last year at BlizzCon. He's been just getting better and better, and I think this definitely might be the year where he can make it through and take that championship.
Like, I'm not 100% sure about this one anymore as they played so many games against each other, but I think the final of the European WESG qualifier was Nerchio versus Elazer as well. And I think Elazer won that one, but of course, you know, you can't really refer to a qualifier as winning a major offline event, even though that was an incredibly stacked European event. It pretty much had the 20 best Europeans at that moment attending that one. You know, Snoot was there as well. My friend the Muslim was there. It was a really fun tournament. Nemchar had a great run, and I think Elazer won that one. But it could have been Nerchio as well. It was in the final either way. But you're right. You can't call the qualifier for an event a major event by itself, even though it was really tough to win that one, and there was a lot of money on the line.
Definitely starting to pile up those results, though. Deeper and deeper runs. To make it through to the round of 4 would be a big result here for Elazer, of course.
Back to back, right? I mean, he's almost taking the title, Mr. Consistency, away from Nerchio. If Nerchio like misses out on 2 semifinals in a row and Elazer is there twice, he's taking everything he worked for, Pick.
Yeah. And that's such a good feeling when you come in your whole career, you're in the shadow of someone like Nerchio, you know, someone you look up to a lot, you learn from.
Inspires you, probably?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Elazer is a guy, he's always talking about Nerchio's viewpoint on the game, especially when he was a little bit younger as well, and someone who has been getting very good in his own right. Nerchio here doing a good bit of pressure on this hatchery. Both players just going for that fast third base into Baneling Nest. No big surprises just yet. A little bit of a supply block behind this for Nerchio, a bit uncharacteristic. Is going to be a little bit slower on spending that lava.
Yep, he's done quite a few workers, but he does have 6 drones in production now at once, which obviously comes down to that supply block that you just mentioned, Pig. But he has a few more links to work with. Let's see if he's going to be able to get something done here. Gets the wraparound on a couple of those Zerglings, and he's going to be able to force the Kenzo on those Morphing Banes as well. This hatchery, Pig, is taking a lot of damage.
Ooh, those Banelings need to get in there right now. It's dangerously low. Even if he can save it here, it's going to go down.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous. The last 2 Zerglings, Pig, really?
Big snipe right there.
Seems like Elazer is a little bit upset with that exchange. He's going to try to return the favor. 16 more links were on the production tab. He has a couple of Banelings on both sides of the map now as well. He's going to try to maybe get a cancel on that hatchery, get a kill on it.
He wants
or
to
at least get drones, right?
There's a big amount of pressure on him right now. If he just lets Nerchio carefully drone up Nerchio, will have a big lead. But he knows right now they're on similar work accounts. So if he can out-micro Nerchio, he's still in a good spot. But good defensive Baneling from Nerchio. Elazer manages to grab a drone, but three queens.
Yeah, that's going to be very hard for just a couple of Zerglings with no upgrades. 2 Banelings did wiggle their way into the natural of Nerchio, which is why Nerchio just lost 4 drones. That's all right. That's something, but I still think I'd like to lose 4 drones over losing that 3rd hatchery, because that's just going to slow everything down for Elazer.
Yeah, he's got his own Roach Warren on the way now, does Elazer. Nerchio, a player who's very happy to delay that Roach Warren. He likes to go for faster upgrades, delay the lair and the Roach Warren a little bit later on.
He's going to try it one more time, Pig. He's like, that went really well the first time. There are 4 Banelings coming in, only 2 defensive Banelings here for Elazer.
That's really greedy from Elazer.
But he does have those 2 queens. So the queens are the saving grace here. He has to make sure that he doesn't lose too many Zerglings in the process.
Oh, big hit from Nerchio. You've got to keep those Banelings alive, Elazer. He does manage to hold on, but Nerchio just applying this pressure.
Look at the roaches.
As well.
Does Elazer have a layer? Elazer does not have a layer. He's just going to go for it, Pig. Pedal to the metal, nothing but roaches, while Nerchio is actually the player that's stacking up and maybe over-droning a little bit. He's up 17 workers up to this point. Does spot the roaches, though. That one Zergling deserves the MVP award if Nerchio manages to defend this.
Elazer did not want to show his hand just yet. This is a big surprise attack. He is down a lot in workers. Elazer needs to kill Nerchio with this attack, or at least do a lot of damage. He's got 13 roaches and a massive Zerglings and Banelings coming along with this. Meanwhile, Nerchio does not have a Roach Warren. He's just being forced to abandon any hope of getting roaches and just massing spine crawlers instead.
The problem is he also has to worry about the natural, right? If he gets 7, 8, or 9 spine crawlers at the 3rd base, the natural is actually looking pretty awfully exposed. So Elazer doesn't have to go here, but he's still going to go for it. It's 54 army supply against 28. Nerchio needs a miraculous hold.
Big Baneling hits, both sides just having all of their Banelings crash into each other's faces. Elazer has a lovely ball of roaches here. They are very powerful, and they are dishing out the hurt. Spinecrawler's trying to move down to defend this third, but this is looking a little bit desperate for Nerchio. I mean, the drones are going down. The Queen's getting surrounded. Elazer, a good Game 3 victory, takes the lead 2-1.
See both players looking kind of at that game like, yeah, what to really say about that one. Elazer knows that wasn't a perfect early game. Elazer knows that he was actually falling pretty far behind, but he decided, he's like, you know what, if I play a normal game from this point on, I'm simply too far behind. It's everything or nothing. I'm gonna go for this roach attack of hatchery tech, and it worked. I mean, Nerchio was just too greedy. He was up 17, 18 drones while going up to a layer and not having a roach ward. I guess he was aiming to go for a spire over here, but you know, Elazer hitting right before that spire would ever come into play.
You know, it's interesting because Nerchio wasn't sure where that attack was coming from. He started building spines at his natural, then realized Elazer was going to the third. So some of those spine crawls were just barely finishing as the push was coming in. And he just didn't have a spire behind it. I feel like if he just pulled back to his natural mass spines there, had a spire on the way, you can play two base against that.
I agree that.
Elazer's only got like 33 workers out.
Yep, I agree with that one. I think just evacuate that third hatchery because you can't defend both locations. If he only builds spines, let's say he gets 9 spine crawlers at the third base, then obviously Elazer is going to turn around. He's going to run towards the natural. I think pick there, like these are these moments where you have to make a very tough call. In the heat of the moment, it's very hard, but Elazer and well, especially Nerchio is one of the absolute best when it comes to that. I think you just sacrifice one of your hatcheries there, you fall back to your natural, you throw up the spire, and it's like, okay, even if you're going up to 3 bases, you're still down 17 workers. The moment my mutas are out, I can retake my own base, and let's take the game from there. But I think defending both locations was an impossible task to begin with.
Definitely didn't work out for Nerchio, but Elazer looking quite happy with how that one went. We are about to go into game number 4 to see who can go through to the semi-finals of WCS Valencia. Spawning down here in the bottom right-hand side, in the blue, it is Elazer.
Trying to take that title away from his opponent, Mr. Consistency. Maybe we're going to refer to Elazer from this point on forward. But we're not there just yet. Over here on the left top side, representing Euronics, it is Nerchio. You know what I like about Nerchio is that during series, like after series, you often see quite some emotion coming out of him. He's often very relieved, especially if he beats somebody that he regards as a very good player. You know, in the past, if he would get a victory over someone like Showtime or something, you can really see it means a lot to Nerchio. And after that previous game, you could see that obviously that rustled him a little bit because he knows that he was in a great position. He knows he got a little bit too greedy, but he still tries whatever he can to stay calm and composed. And it's like, okay, that happened. Probably shouldn't have happened because I was playing well and I didn't deserve that. I deserved more on the Abyssal, but you gotta forget about it. We're still in this one, and you can just see that he's really good in keeping his emotions in check while playing the actual best of 5.
Exactly. He's definitely matured a lot as a player over the last couple of years. We start to hear a lot more of his feelings on social media recently as well.
His social media game went to a whole new level. Like Nerchio 2013, 2014, he was kind of boring on Twitter. He didn't really follow anybody, and that's okay.
A Team Liquid post once in a while on the forum.
Exactly. You know, no, he was active on Team Liquid, but his Twitter was just like, you know, like you don't follow anybody, but that's okay because you don't really tweet that much interesting stuff anyway. That has changed, you know, pretty much ever since Nerchio teamed up with Red Bull as well. His social media game went to the next level. He's very funny. He's very witty. Gets in a couple of arguments here and there, but, you know, at least he keeps things interesting, Pig.
Exactly. We need a few more personalities speaking their mind. Can't all be too afraid to voice our opinions on things. Nerchio is certainly the opposite of that. He's always got strong opinions on the game and how to play it. And he's been showing us how to do it so far. Of course, here on Ascension to Aya, both players, once again, really respecting each other, just playing a hatchery first opening. And I do wonder if we're going to see another Blood Boil-esque game at some point. I kind of doubt it because that game was just so passive and they just kind of both rushed to the roach stage. Already here we can see the Baneling Nest coming down for Nerchio. Elazer looks like he wants to go for the faster third base and drop the Baneling Nest a little bit later on.
Yeah, the way that these two maps play out is obviously a little bit different, right? Because on Blood Boil, you can kind of camp. Basically, there's only one entrance into your first 3 bases, especially if you knock down those rocks as well. You keep yourself pretty safe behind 2 layers of rocks. well, Ascension to Higher is a lot more open. And if you try to go up to 67 drones and only make a couple of Zerglings, then go into Roaches, it's going to be Banelings coming in from every angle. This is just a large map. It's a great map for some early Ling Bane skirmishes, but you know, both these guys are so good, they're so evenly matched that most of the time there should be a little dense in the early stages of the game, but neither player should be that much better than the other one, that there should be a big advantage to really do game-ending damage.
Got to agree with you there, Kev. Both players tied neck and neck. Elazer has just been edging slightly ahead in the drones, but Nerchio is always just right behind him and keeps catching up just after he gets up in that work account. Both players starting to now invest in Zergling Baneling. It looks like Nerchio will be the one with the forward position that he established with those early Zerglings. And this is going to be a nice little advantage. It allows him to keep the fighting on Elazer's side of the map.
Elazer is morphing 4 Banelings. Is he morphing any Banelings there on the south side of the third base of Nerchio? Or actually, no, they're all defensive. That's just an Overlord. All right. So often you see Elazer morphing 2 aggressive Banelings in the early stage of the game and just try to run them into a mineral line while there is some sort of a micro battle going on. Nerchio, you can see he's aware of this. He's keeping the 2 defensive Banelings at home, but he's just going to retreat for now, and both players will just macro up.
Elazer has squeezed out a few more drones. Nerchio starting to go into the faster evolution chamber and double gas. Interesting, we saw him go for that Evo chamber last game, but hey, Elazer looking for the Queen Snipe, won't quite get it.
You won't get it.
No.
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 Oh my god. That last
I
hit.
can't believe he got that.
And there's 2 Zerglings that managed to sneak their way into the main base of Nerchio, but Nerchio picked up on it. That's very good news, because the last thing you ever want to do is lose 6-7 drones in this phase in the game. Well done there by Elazer. It felt silly, because I think if Nerchio would have, instead of run with the Queens at first, if he would have just started fighting those Lings immediately, I think there is 0 chance he loses one of those Queens there.
I got to agree with you there, Kev. I mean, that was that last hit, just barely managed to take it out. Interestingly, Nerchio looking for the scout. Oh, he's going to see everything. And that tells him, hey, there's no Roach Warren. You have a lair and 4 gases, 5th gas on the way even. Nerchio knows he is up against a Mutalisk tech from Elazer.
What do you think Nerchio is going to do? He is tacking up. Could we potentially maybe see some, I mean, there is not enough
Cheeky
Queens
Nidus?
prep. Yeah, I was thinking a Queen Nidus. I mean, why not with a couple of Roaches, but I'm not sure if the Queen count is high enough. Maybe Nerchio is like, all right, you know, I'm just going to make a couple of Roaches. That's a couple of extra Overlords going down.
A lot of Roaches, actually. This is a surprising number of Roaches. If you realize your
It's a
opponent's
large map, though. It's a very, very large map, and he's not going to have Roach speed. I'm not sure if Nerchio's attack is going to be in time.
Yeah, he's just going to go all out with a big Roach attack. He's got Zerglings as well, so it looks like it's going to be a Roach Bane. I really want to see him drone behind this, because I do not expect him to do game-ending damage here.
Spines are going down. I mean, that's 2 spines, obviously not going to be enough, but anything that can buy some time for Elazer, we're going to keep a close eye on his bank as well. Elazer is going to buy time with this little run by, but Nerchio wasn't born last night. He knows what's up. He's not going to spend too much energy and focus on that little Ling run by. He's going to try to do some serious work on the other side of the map. But look at that Spire pick, more than halfway done already.
The Roaches are here, though. There's no spines up here on the third base. Queens, Lings, Banes doing what they can, but the Banelings of Nerchio are there as well. The Queen's doing a good job from Elazer, focusing down these Ravagers. But those Ravager cocoons with their 5 armor are just so powerful.
Nerchio's micro was really good so far, but Elazer still has quite a few units here. Where are those reinforcements that Nerchio so desperately needs? This is not going well enough at all for Nerchio. I really think Nerchio needs to do way more damage. This is that phase in the game where you need to be in the mineral lines already. You need to be killing drones. 9 meters are about to pop, and there is nothing that shoots up for Nerchio.
No drones on the way at all. He's going all in on this.
It's too late.
And look at this. There's spines up at the natural and the third. There's a massive transfusers. Nerchio is stuck on this mode of trying to kill Elazer, but there is no way that is going to work out now. He's trying to fight the Queens, but what is he really going to achieve here? Not a lot. The transfuse is good. The Queens all stand strong. The Mutas rain down death from above, and I think we might be seeing Elazer pushing his way through to that semi-finals. He wants it. He's got control of the skies. He's defending Nerchio on all fronts.
Nerchio really needs to do some economic damage, otherwise this game is pretty much over. Elazer defending this so far with flying colors. I actually like the micro from Nerchio in the very beginning, the way he split his Roaches, the way he was morphing a couple of them, but he just didn't do enough damage, not quick enough. These are the very first drones he's gonna get. Maybe these Zerglings can get some work done, but that spine and those Queens, Elazer is looking so good on Ascension to Higher.
Those 4 Queens have dropped like 20 transfusers over the course of all of this. The Spine Crawler is still standing strong. The Mutas come over to back it up. and Elazer still up 5 workers. He's got the better tech. He's got the defense. Just fantastic Zerg versus Zerg.
Can we take a look at the units' lost resources in this game? I have to feel that it has to be quite a bit in favor. You can see Nerchio losing 1,100 minerals more, 500 gas more, 18 roaches. Obviously, Elazer did lose a lot of links, but that's all right, because those links bought time for these mutas. It's 5 more mutas. I have the feeling that Elazer can just fly into whatever mineral line he desires and just hover above it, kill spores, kill queens, and the game will end. I mean, that infestation pit is going to take a long, long time before Nerchio is going to have an answer to these mutas.
Stepping out of his idol's shadow, Elazer here showing us once again he has got what it takes to tango with Nerchio. No longer is he just the young prodigy, he is also the master as well. Nerchio here being surprised by Elazer.
You can fight that. That's 1 queen and a spore. The muta count is ridiculous. I think we're looking at like 17, 18 mutas or something. That's insane. Elazer up 50 supply. I think this is going to be pretty much it. Nerchio has to know it as well. It seems like Elazer is going to go to back-to-back semifinals at the WCS Circuit. Excellent job here, Pick.
Fantastic, clean, crisp play. Coming out of the young, confident Polish player. And Elazer there, rightfully looking very pleased with himself. A very impressive performance up against Nerchio.
Yeah, excellent series. Just looked really solid. Obviously, it was in a little bit of trouble on Abyssal, but this is like, you know what? If I'm a little bit behind, I'm going to go for it. And I think winning Abyssal, the way he did it was probably a huge confidence boost going into that last game as well. But that last game was definitely the most impressive one.
Absolutely. Well, let's hear from Sue and find out what he's thinking for himself.
Thank you very much, guys. Congratulations, Elazer. When I spoke to you last time, you said that you were happy to make the round of 8, but now you've one-upped yourself. You've advanced in this tournament over Nerchio, back-to-back semifinals. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, feels amazing, so amazing to be again in top 4, and especially that Serral is out.
We'll definitely talk about that situation in just a little bit, but in terms of going up against Nerchio, I know the guys have been saying over and over again how you two have played so many times, but this year you've played 9 times and you actually beat him 5 of those times in a row, so you have a lot of experience also beating him. Did you feel confident going up against him?
Yeah, actually quite confident. I knew it won't be easy. The games were quite close, all of them. Like, I think we played pretty much the same level. It just I surprised him a couple times more, for example, with the lurkers in the first game. So, yeah, it could have went both ways, but...
And I know that historically, everyone has always referred to Nerchio as the best Polish player. But now with this win, you've had better WCS results in 2017, and you have defeated him more times than he's defeated you. So do you think that you've taken that title from him now?
Maybe not yet. He still has many championships. I don't have a single one, so obviously I cannot take a crown from him yet.
And a last question. I know you just said you're really happy that Serral is out, as he is the player that knocked you out in the round of 4 last time. So now that you're going to go up against True instead, what are your thoughts?
For sure better than playing Serral, for sure. Yeah, I think I can go all the way this time. And Serral was the only one stopping me since like all the challengers. I would lose to Serral, in the winners bracket Serral, losers bracket Serral, so yeah, that's it.
All right, well, congratulations again, Elazer, and with that, it'll be Elazer moving on to play True in the semifinal.
Strong showing from Elazer, defeating his fellow countryman here to move on to the round of 4. And it's been a while since Elazer actually had his round of 4. We remember back at BlizzCon where he got all the way to the round of 4, and now he's got to be feeling good about that one.
Yeah, really awesome pickup by Elazer, being able to move forward here. I love that he mentioned awesome games, by the way, some of these intense explosions, these battles. But I love that he mentioned in that interview that he's like, well, yeah, true. There's definitely a much more opponent that you want to go up against than Serral. Serral has been one of like the terrors, the nightmares, one of the best Zerg players, period. And as we were saying in the pre-match, that's got to be something that's a big motivator for whoever would have come out on top of this best of 5.
It's cool that, there's a story here. There is a story outside of the story, is that both of these guys, they've already scored themselves 300 more points in WCS Circuit standings, currently in 6th and 7th place. And I'm talking about Elazer and True, and they face each other later on today. And we're at the point where winning a match doesn't get you 300 more points. If you go into the finals, that's at least 500 more points and a chance at getting that spot at the global finals as well. So really cool story, and I cannot wait for that semi-finals later on.
Absolutely, they were neck and neck coming into today, 7th and 6th, and then True won a game, then he went above him, and then now Elazer has won the game, and now he's gone above him again. So 6th and 7th place will be going up against each other in the round of 4. Let's check in with the brackets to confirm everything that's gone on so far here for WCS Valencia, as 2 Zergs stand at the very top there with True and Elazer. There is still potential for another Zerg down towards the bottom to be advancing on, as our next match is going to be Snoot versus Elazer, and the bottom of the bracket looks extremely stacked.
That Neeb versus Special match, I think, is going to be a big one that everyone's looking forward to all day long for this broadcast on TVP, especially since that is another huge rematch from both of the previous WCS Circuit events that we've already had this year.
Very excited for Snoot as well, going up against Elazer, Todd.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's funny, you know, the quarterfinals in the top side was like, there was one North American player in True, he made it to the semis, and now we see the same thing with Snoot being a little bit of a stranger in the bottom side of the brackets.
Yeah.
I feel like it's definitely doable for both there. Elazer definitely has a good chance against Snoot, but Snoot is coming back really strong here in this tournament, so I cannot wait to see if he can start posting, you know, those top 4, top 2 results here once again, because he's been on a little bit of a snub.
Coolest part about that next match is that Elazer is the player that's had a much better year than he's had for a while.
Yes.
And Snoot is the player that's had the much more disappointing year as far as tournament results go. And it's either it's a continuation of one of those for both players, that Elazer can either keep up this awesome run of making these top 4s, or is Snoot going to bow out once again without getting close to a tournament final?
Well, we're about to find out in just a few moments' time. We're going to go to a short intermission here for WCS Valencia, and when we return, our 3rd round of 8 match here as we get things going into the round of 4.